Okay, so it's the NRL Grand Final this weekend. So we have the Women's NRLW Grand Final as the precursor, and then the main event, the main course, Penrith versus Brisbane. The Panthers in their fourth Grand Final in a row, aiming for 3 premierships in a row versus Brisbane in their first Grand Final since 2015, and they haven't won the thing since 2006. So recent experience will go in Penrith's favour. Their system is well oiled. They're very flexible in adjusting that system. Brisbane went through a lot of hard lessons and hard knocks over the last couple of years, including a wooden spoon only 3 years ago. And they've had to weather some pretty, brutal hard knocks and lessons last year. Going into State of Origin period, they're one of the top teams. Coming out of that period, they slipped to 9th and missed finals. They've completely turned that around this year. They've been consistently in the top 4. They finished second, just behind Penrith. It went down to the last weekend of the season, narrowly missing out. But in the finals, they've been pretty imperious. Penrith have been imperious as well. Neither have dropped a game. These are the 2 best sides in the regular season going head-to-head. And I think that's pretty much, it was pretty even in the regular season between the 2 sides. I think a lot hinges on the fitness of Jerome Luai and the weather conditions. I think that's ultimately where the game is going to be won and lost. How can Jerome Luai stand up for 80 minutes? Or will Jack Cogger have to play a lengthy role in the game? And Cogger's had a good season when he's had to stand in for one or the other, or both, for State of Origin or injury. Cogger's not a bad player. He's a good, solid half. He's a bit more rigid and a bit more structured than Luai, but sometimes you need that. And now, on the opposite halves, you've got Ezra Mam, young, exciting, still a raw talent, and Adam Reynolds, who's been here before with South Sydney on 2 separate occasions, winning one, losing the other. The other one was against Penrith 2 years ago. So, we've got very even teams. I would think with the forward pack, Kurt Capewell really is the veteran in that forward pack. But they've got a lot of leaders there now. They've learned a lot of hard experiences through, defeats along the way. They've had some defeats along the way. Penrith, player turnover has been an issue. However, they've weathered it because of the system. The only area where Brisbane really have dominance is in the wingers for height, and their outside backs for height. So, kick chase, going to prove crucial, and competition for a crossfield kick, for example. And also kick defence. Because Penrith, Brian Toto, for example, he's a shorter winger, so mismatches there potentially, but he's great carrying the ball out from deep. I think that's more of a strength than Brisbane. So it evens out, but I think the wing battle could prove crucial. Goal kicking could prove crucial as well. Again, got Cleary, and then you've got Crichton, obviously, for Penrith. You've got Adam Reynolds. And then it gets a bit interesting. Reece Walsh, could he step up? He's a decent goal kicker. And there are there's a few options for both sides, but you've got your 2 main goal kickers for each, so it could come down to goal kicking and kick percentages and do you take the 2-point penalty, drop goals? Adam Reynolds can slot a few. So can Cleary and others, and Crichton. They can slot some. Now, the reason why I mentioned the weather. In the rain this season, Penrith have not won. The World Club Challenge, where they were heavily fancied, they lost in changeable wet conditions. So if there's any rain around Sydney, I think that favours Brisbane. I think it'll be a narrow win to Brisbane, but I think it favours Brisbane. And then you look how Brisbane played in the rain against Melbourne. I rest my case. I rest my case. Honestly, the weather could have an impact. So if it does rain, I think it favours Brisbane. If it doesn't rain and it's a dry track, I think it favours Penrith. Either way, I think it will be within 8 points either way. The victory margin. I think it is too close to call, but I think the weather will have a part to play if it is to rain. I haven't seen the forecast. I think we're a little bit too far out really to get an accurate forecast. We'll have a 75% chance of knowing what the forecast is at this point, but a more accurate forecast you have to look on the day. But if it is to rain, I think that favours Brisbane. If it stays dry, I think it favours Penrith. But we're talking fine margins, maybe a converted try at most. potentially Golden Point. I think this is the closest grand final to call since 2020, and that's the last one Penrith lost. And they're trying to emulate a feat that hasn't been achieved since the early 80s with the Parramatta Eels by winning 3 consecutive grand finals. That is how long that record's lasted. The fact they're in their 4th consecutive grand final is also pretty ridiculous. To go back to, I think, 4 consecutive grand finals, we're looking at the great St George sides of the 60s, which won, I think, 9 championships in a row. So we're talking about some history here that hasn't been achieved for a very long time. And it's Penrith's success is due to their scouting, their talent development, and also signing the right players to the right contracts and getting players to sign for less money to give a hometown discount. They really managed their roster really, really well to develop a team that fits the system that Ivan Cleary wants them to play. Kevy Walters, there was a lot of question marks around Kevy Walters. Was he the right guy to take Brisbane forward when he took over from Anthony Seibold? The collapse last season, their form dropping off a cliff, again raised some concerns about, could this Brisbane side, be a contender? They're a contender. Now, is this a one-off season flash in the pan, or will this be sustained success? Brisbane, much like Penrith, very young side. Penrith, while they're young, they're experienced. Brisbane are young and, I would say, inexperienced at grand final and finals football, but there's a lot of origin players for both states in their squad. They've got some of the best forwards and best outside backs in the game. Same with Penrith. This really is going to be a titanic struggle. I think the forward packs are pretty evenly matched. I think maybe possibly slightly edging with Brisbane there. But with the continuity with the half-backs, I think that slightly goes to Penrith. But as I say, a lot hinges on Jerome Luai's fitness. I think Jack Cogger brings something different and maybe a bit more control and a bit more structure. Ezra Mam is a younger version of Jerome Luai, just without the pantomime villain aspect to his game. Very unstructured. Adam Reynolds, he may be asked to do a lot of defending. I think that could potentially be where Brisbane have an issue, is if they constantly target Reynolds in defence and tire him out, which puts more pressure on Ezra Mam to take pressure off Reynolds. Penrith, I think they could be targeting Luai in defence. He can have his defensive frailties, plus he's got a bit of a dicky shoulder. But it's going to be a struggle, and I think it may even go to Golden Point. But as I say, if it rains, I favour Brisbane. Brisbane by 4 in the rain. If it stays dry, I'll go Penrith by 6. It's going to be a close one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Golden Point ends up in there as well. And yeah, we'll see how it pans out. But going to be a close one. I think whoever scores first will lose. I think that's the only thing I'm going to be certain of. Whoever scores first will lose. I think the team that scores second has to do so within 10 minutes in order to win. But I think if you score first and the other team doesn't score within 10 minutes, you've nailed the game. However, if the team that scores second scores within 10 minutes of the team scoring first, they have the momentum swings. There's a few little predictions in there. I'm just clutching at straws. I don't do predictions. If any of those predictions come true, I'm Nostradamus. I might have the beard for it, actually. But no, all jokes aside, I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a fun encounter, and we'll see if history is made by Penrith, or we see if Brisbane can stop the Panthers' juggernaut. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below who you think wins the grand final. And I may do a review of both the women's and men's grand finals, but of course we've got the Rugby World Cup going on as well, and it is a Sunday and it will be early hours my time in the UK, so I might just relax and watch the grand finals at my leisure, and then potentially do a review. We'll see. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.